Now that Gen V Season 2 has finally concluded, today I will be following up on the last video and speaking on a topic that is related to the series The Boys. While usually I don't speak on narrative or review seasons per se, today I needed to kind of do this in order to present the scaling, as surprisingly the scaling is very important to what our main character Marie goes through and what she ultimately is supposed to represent. This also affects a lot of other character scaling, or characters that people believe are super strong but are actually a lot weaker than you may think. Now, that isn't to say that I think Gen V is a bad show at all. It could be cringe at times, sure, but I believe there is genuine effort in this show to show you, hey, this world in the grand scheme of things has so many layers beyond what you'd expect. And they do put in the effort for you to care about these characters, from the underground lab rat experiments on Sam, the brother of the prodigy golden boy, to characters like Jordan being so obsessed with the fact that they want to be number one only for them to not really care about it ultimately, and obviously characters like Andre and Cate and their inner conflicts with not only the school but what they morally should be obligated to do. The show, at least in my opinion, puts in or attempts to put in the effort of these characters. However, my problem with Gen V ultimately comes from both finales, which just kind of feel like setup seasons for the boys. And rather than concluding character arcs that have been built up for the weeks that we have been consuming the show, by the end of season 2, we see half, if not pretty much most of the main cast not even doing anything or getting a proper conclusion. And it's very noticeable for characters who had much bigger roles in a previous season, like Cate and especially Sam. Marie as well, our protagonist, falls very flat on her face when the narrative tries to push this whole idea of her, oh my god, her potential's greater than Homelander, she has the potential to be top 1. Well, in my opinion, she might as well be the next coming of Megami, the way the narrative just fails to push this idea. I know it seems like I'm just kind of yapping for nothing right now, but it really does matter when we get into certain characters and what they end up showing off. Marie definitely is a force to be reckoned with, and we see that during season 2. But ultimately, it feels like her power progression isn't really earned all that well, and she doesn't really overcome Goldokin like you'd expect her to, rather gets a guilty win thanks to Polarity. And again, it's just to set up everyone for season 5 of The Boys. So it's just a little frustrating when you're making me care for these individuals only for me to have to wait another season of a show for their arcs to fully wrap up. I'm sure it'll come full circle by the time of season 5's conclusion, but if I'm being honest, none of the characters gets a satisfying ending at this point in time. Sam and Emma have been rekindling their relationship just for it to go nowhere. Cate does fuck all this entire season after having some of the best scenes in the show with Marie. Jordan is just kind of here this season and is just going back and forth with Marie, while Marie, our protagonist, is just kind of alright and stays stagnant until she gets a cliche win on the main villain. However, Polarity is the undisputed GOAT. Now, like I said, the reason this is important to note before even scaling these guys is because we had people from the get-go supporting the idea of certain characters already beating Homelander or rivaling him, when this gets completely undermined when we actually see the show and what happens. Anywho, before we talk about how Gen V compares to the boys and those characters, I have to leave out the one exception, that being Cate, unfortunately. She is literally just a human who can control other people on contact, meaning she's extremely situational in versus battles. I'm sure she could definitely get like a lucky win on someone much stronger than her, but realistically, if she were to fight any of the main cast at full power, she'd probably lose and only win in a specific scenario that's written for her to gain the upper hand, like in season 1. However, everyone else is absolutely cracked, and it goes without saying. Now, like I just previously mentioned, let's talk about the original discourse of this show, that being this goober golden boy. This guy was basically hyped up to be the next Homelander and the best student at Goldokin University, which would apply to characters like A-Train, Deep, and Queen Maeve. And the reason why I have to mention Sam here is because not only is he stronger than Golden Boy, who should be at the very least above A-Train and Deep, but I mean, Sam is kind of the measuring stick for the rest of the Gen V cast, as everybody pretty much has a one-on-one interaction with him. Even when Sam was enraged or even being mind-controlled, we know characters like Andre, Jordan, and even Marie, long before reaching their full potential, can stagger and harm him. This is super important considering, unlike Golden Boy, who's carried by statements, Sam actually just no-sells a punch from the strongest version of Kimiko to date, as by this point she should be enraged as the love of her life is being captured, with her not being able to do a thing, and her finally being able to speak. This same Kimiko was able to draw blood on Stormfront and damage Noir in earlier seasons, and although they definitely can beat Kimiko in a fight, it isn't with their physical stats per se, but rather their abilities and experience. We see Noir specifically aiming for points to hard counter Kimiko and just outskill her, while Stormfront relies on her lightning like Palpatine. However, physically speaking, these guys are actually relative to Kimiko and she can harm them. We also see her surviving hits from an amped A-Train as well, which means if these guys are able to tussle with Sam, who should upscale from Kimiko, they should be upscaling from at least base A-Train, who should be relative to New Noir and Deep. Now Sam, before no-selling this punch to Kimiko, was being controlled by Cate and forced to fight Andre. And despite losing to Sam and being clearly physically weaker, he could still push him back with his attacks even when he's not trying to fight him at all. Whereas with Kimiko, she's pushing back a Sam who is not enraged or unstable. Andre as well also has that feat of moving a helicopter, which is really impressive, but I don't think it gets him really higher than Stormfront or Noir in my opinion. I'd say stat-wise, he could harm and even do decent against them, but Stormfront's lightning and Noir's experience would be way too much for Andre, given the fact that he's still too green with his powers. Now, next up we have Jordan, who, unlike Andre, could actually fight Sam comfortably and even survive being tackled out of the building when in his less durable form. Jordan in Season 1 fought Golden Boy as well as Stagger Sam previously, and even a stronger character, that being Vicor, and has proven to be the absolute go-to when it comes to 1v1s for the Gen V cast. Due to Jordan's blast being able to stagger Sam and Vicor, I do believe Jordan would have the AP to stagger both Noir and Stormfront, and when he's in his durable state, he could pretty much withstand most of their attacks besides maybe Stormfront's lightning. But with the shockwaves being a factor, I feel like Jordan would just pretty much be a fusion of Kimiko and Starlight from Season 2 and overwhelm the hell out of Stormfront. So I would say at the moment it would go roughly Andre would be above A-Train, who should be stronger than Kimiko when amped, with Sam obviously being above them, who should be relatively below Stormfront and Noir. Jordan has the durability and abilities to not only get around Stormfront's lightning, but also Noir's blades. And so if Jordan can play the cards right, I think he got it, but it'd be very close. And if you don't think Jordan beats them, well, we know the gap between Emma and Jordan is big enough to say that Emma could definitely take these two on, as Emma can comfortably overpower Sam in her giant form, and it's implied she could stop Vicor if she goes giant, who was whooping Sam and Jordan's ass. Stormfront realistically is only carried by her lightning, so if Emma is able to catch her off guard by transforming at a random time, I don't see why she wouldn't just crush Stormfront or at least rip her arms off. And although Noir has super strength, he is ultimately just a guy with knives, and I sincerely doubt he would be able to beat Emma in a bloodlusted scenario. I mean, not for nothing, she was the only one who actually landed a hit on Goldokin too, so hey, shout out to Emma, bro, she's actually the GOAT. But now that we finally got rid of the main cast and yapped about them, let's talk about what we're really here for, that being the next Homelander, Polarity! Due to Andre's actor unfortunately passing away, rest in peace, his screen time went to his dad, and we get to see this man absolutely pop off. Firstly, while already dying, he knocked back Goldokin in Cypher's body, and of course in the finale, he's able to overwhelm the same Goldokin who just soloed the whole cast. And if I'm being honest, this version of Goldokin, aside from Soldier Boy, Homelander, and maybe Billy Butcher, might damn well be the strongest soup on the planet. And of course, it's because of Polarity that Marie is able to even tap into her true potential. Now, I know it seemed like I was kind of dunking on her in the beginning, but Marie is genuinely a consistent character when it comes to her scaling. But we see by the end of Season 1, she just straight up survives an attack from Homelander, and only just gets stronger from there. As she's training under Cypher and slowly awakening her power, she had shown the ability to beat Jordan in a one-on-one, and even just straight up solo the entire cast if she wanted to. And thanks to the Season 2 finale and her tapping into her true potential, she had shown the ability to explode someone like Goldokin, which shows you that she is closer to her full potential and at her very strongest by the end of Season 2. Now, like I said earlier in the video, it was stated time and time again that she is pretty much the next Homelander, or she's going to be stronger than Homelander. However, this is really only just because of her powers and how it works, and theoretically if she were to get to a certain level of strength. The ability to manipulate blood and legit explode you from the inside out is genuinely the most broken power we have probably seen in The Boys, aside from like Soldier Boy's anti-V-nuke. So, I mean, yeah, it's not surprising to think that Marie at her full power could reach that level. However, I just don't think she's top 1 because of these statements alone. But aside from, I guess, Homelander, Soldier Boy, and Billy, she is more than likely the strongest soup on the planet. At the end of the day, it's what you do with that potential, and for the most part, she was just getting ragdolled and worrying about her sister, so let's just hope she doesn't come in Season 5 and one-shot Homelander like a lot of people want her to, because that would be absolutely terrible, and I'm going to be turning off my TV. However, I'm sure they were going to get some nice moments to shine and of course help the boys stop Homelander once and for all. My issue with this, however, is the fact that outside outside of their own little spin-off show, they couldn't really do much with the characters or risk killing anyone, as these guys got greenlit for another season. Although it wasn't on purpose, the way they handled Andre's death was genuinely well done, and they didn't do a disservice to the character while also continuing the plot. It kind of makes you wonder, if somebody genuinely died in this show, how that would impact our characters and how that would hit us, the audience. Ultimately, it feels like Gen V could have done a lot more, especially when the idea of these guys being the next coming of Homelander is stabbed into your brains. But I think regardless, these guys are definitely a force to be reckoned with and a lot stronger than people give them credit for. And if you guys want more videos related to The Boys, or maybe a tier list with Gen V and The Boys after season 5 comes out, let me know if you guys would be curious to see that.